Hey everybody, Benjamin Keck with Keck Legal. Today I want to talk about something that I think is going to resonate with a lot of business owners who um, may find themselves in financial distress from time to time. There's an old saying, if you haven't worried about how you're going to make payroll, you're not an entrepreneur. So we've all dealt with it at one time or another. The challenge is knowing at what point you've got a problem and at what point that problem warrants seeking professional help. You think about health problems, for example. There's certain things that you realize, oh, is this something I should be worried about? Should I see a doctor? It's the same thing with the health of your business and your finances. There's certain things that you can handle on your own and get through it and it'll work out and everything will be fine. But for a great many people, there reaches a point where you need to see a lawyer or, at the bare minimum, a professional who knows how to deal with debt issues and how to solve some of these problems. So the vast majority of business owners are just not positioned to be able to know what to do in some of these situations. And unfortunately, when these financial distress situations happen, they don't get better on their own. Very rarely do they get better on their own. In fact, most of the things that I see business owners do only make the problem worse. For example, they'll go out and get high interest loan shark loans, and all that's like drinking seawater. All you're doing is making yourself thirstier and accelerating your demise. There are plenty of people out there that will prey on you and take advantage of you and crush your business even faster. So you need to know when it's time to seek professional help, and that's typically going to be by talking to an attorney. Ideally, someone who deals with business, debtor creditor issues, but really any kind of business attorney should hopefully be able to recognize some of these symptoms and know what stage of financial stress you're at and at what point you really need to talk to a reorganization, restructuring, or perhaps even a bankruptcy attorney. And I'd like to lay out really 5 stages. They talk about like cancer having certain stages. I don't know that that's a great comparison, but let's use that analogy anyway. So I'm going to lay out 5 stages here of financial distress. So stage one, I think we've all dealt with at some time or another. That's when money's tight, you're worried, you're nervous, you're not sure. Like I said earlier, not sure if we're going to be able to make payroll. I think it's going to be okay. As soon as that payment comes in, or whatever the case may be. Uh, you know, at that point, I would say you're at stage one. Maybe it's not quite time to talk to a lawyer yet, but probably need to be talking to an accountant, a consultant, making sure you understand your numbers and know, okay, how big of a problem is this really? Stage two, that's when you're getting behind. Stage two is when, okay, you've got credit card bills that you can't afford to pay them off. Now you're only making the minimum payments, and uh, you're paying 20% interest on credit cards. You're late on getting bills paid because you just don't have the cash to do it. Now you're at stage two. Now you definitely have a problem. Now it's very clear that there's a problem here, and it's could work out on its own, but at this point you probably need to be talking to a professional for sure. Probably ought to be talking to a lawyer to make sure you understand your level of risk and what might happen if things don't work out, and making sure you're making preparations and coming with a plan for how you're going to get out of this situation. So many people try to do it themselves, and unfortunately, most of the time it ends badly if they don't seek professional help early enough. And the problem here is if you wait too long, it just keeps getting worse and worse, and it's going to be harder and harder for a professional to help you. So that's stage two. Stage three, now you definitely have a problem. You have collections lawyers calling you. Perhaps you're several months behind on certain payments. You're getting threats. People are threatening to repo things. The phone calls are coming, the emails are coming. At this point, you definitely need to talk to a restructuring lawyer. If this is you, you need to pick up the phone immediately and talk to a lawyer now. So many people at this stage will put their head in the sand or try to figure it out themselves and work through it. Do not attempt to navigate this type of situation yourself. If you are at stage 3, you need to talk to a lawyer immediately and figure out, okay, how are you going to deal with this situation? How are you going to get out of it? Or at the very least, try to mitigate the damage if things continue to snowball and get worse. Stage 4, now things are getting serious. Now you're getting served with lawsuits. Perhaps you've got a notice of a foreclosure. These are emergencies. If you get served with a summons, if you get a letter saying that a lender is threatening to foreclose, if you've got equipment lenders threatening to repossess, you have a major emergency on your hands and you need to stop whatever you're doing. Whatever else you were going to do today, you need to stop doing that, clear your schedule, and talk to a lawyer immediately. You need to talk to ideally a lawyer who practices Chapter 11 debtor work, who can help you understand what your options are, and you need to make sure you have money to pay them because lawyers are not cheap. And if you continue to lose money without dealing with this situation, your options are going to be very, very limited. So now when you're at stage 4, at this point, hopefully all hope is not lost. If you had acted sooner, you would have perhaps had more options. At this point, hopefully you still have some options. If you have money, if you have cash flow, you should have some options, but you need to act quickly before it's too late. If you've reached stage 5, I would say this is when you didn't respond to a lawsuit, or perhaps you did, but the other side won, and now they have a judgment against you where they can file liens and garnish bank accounts. Perhaps you got foreclosed on. Perhaps you've been garnished already. At this point, not only do you have a major problem, you have problems that perhaps cannot be reversed. It may not. It's probably not possible to unwind that foreclosure. It may not be possible to get that garnish money back. If you're at stage 5, you have waited too long. Now you are in a world of hurt. You want to avoid stage 5 at all costs. If you've reached stage 5, probably your only option at this point is talking to a bankruptcy lawyer about potential liquidation, Chapter 7 options, and seeing how you can best protect yourself. So those are the 5 stages of financial distress, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is to recognize, am I at stage 1? Am I at stage 2? If that's me, I need to be talking to a professional now, because as you just saw, the longer you wait, the worse those problems are going to get, and the harder it's going to be for a doctor to help you. Using my earlier analogy, if you think about a cancer diagnosis, if they catch it early, they catch it at stage 1, there's a lot of things that doctor can do, but at stage 5, it's pretty much over. It's just a matter of time. Same thing with financial distress. The earlier you talk to an attorney, more options you're going to have, and the better chances that you're going to be able to avert a disaster and potentially turn things around and actually have a very good outcome. So very important to act early, and hopefully this is helpful, and hopefully you now have a better understanding of why it's so important to talk to a lawyer sooner rather than later. And of course, if you are here in Georgia where we operate, would encourage you to reach out to our firm at www.kecklegal.com. That's www.kecklegal.com. Thanks, everybody.